What's up, guys? It's me, Chris, here again to give my UFC 101 predictions, and I'll give a quick prediction on WC 42 if I have time at the end. Undercard, real quick, just gonna go over who I think's gonna win. Not gonna break it down too much. Jesse Lennox versus Danilo Villafort. Don't know too much about either guys. I've seen Villafort fight in the WC, I believe, so I'll just go with him because I've actually seen the guy. For what it's worth. George Soteropoulos against Rob Emerson. Go with Emerson to take this by decision. It's better standing. Soteropoulos is better on the ground, but I think Emerson could pull this one out. Matt Riddle against Dan Kramer. Matt Riddle by decision. As long as he doesn't get caught in a submission, Matt Riddle should be able to pull out the win here. Alessio Sakar versus Talis Latis. Striker versus Grappler. Sakar is much better standing. Latis is much better on the feet. However, Sakar doesn't have the best takedown defense, so I think Latis should be able to get him there and sub him quick work in the first round, similar to what he did to Drew McFedries. Camden, the Barn Cat McCrory against John Howard. Good fight, two young fighters, up-and-coming fighters. I think the styles of this fight play more towards John Howard. He's got better wrestling. I think McCrory's better standing, probably has a little bit better jiu-jitsu, but I think Howard would be able to get him on the ground and control him there and probably work to a decision. Although I'd like to see McCrory win because I kind of am a fan of his. Aaron Riley, Shane Nelson rematch, a controversial stoppage in their first fight. I don't think that'll happen here. I see Aaron Riley winning this fight by decision. Moving on to the main card, we have Kurt Pellegrino versus Josh Neer first. Josh the Dentist Neer against Batman Kurt Pellegrino. Good fight. Should be one of the fights of the night, in my opinion, if not the fight of the night. Both well-rounded fighters. Both have fought Joe Stevenson. Both have fought and lost to Nate Diaz. I think Pellegrino's a little more, got better jiu-jitsu, better wrestling. But Neer's no slouch in the jiu-jitsu department. I think Neer's better standing. Both are pretty good size for the weight division, Both have fought at welterweight previously as well. I think Neer will just win. I think he's a little bit bigger. I think he can control the fight a bit more when they're on the feet. I think on the ground it'd be pretty much, give and take. I don't think either has a big advantage there. I just think Neer will be able to eke out a decision, but I think it will be a really good, exciting fight. Next up, Ricardo Ameida versus Kendall Grove. This is another good matchup, pretty even matchup on paper. Almeida's a really gifted jiu-jitsu fighter. Grove's got good jiu-jitsu as well. I think Grove's much better standing here than Ricardo Ameida is. What I'm going to base my decision on this fight is Almeida was planning on moving down to welterweight. He took this fight, he said, because it was a good opportunity, possibly get a good name on his resume in Kendall Grove. However, although Kendall Grove is very skinny, I do think he's pretty big for the welterweight division. And the fact that Almeida is moving down, I think the size advantage is going to get Kendall the win here. Plus, he's much better standing, Almeida, I think Kendall can survive on the ground with Almeida. So I don't think he'll get submitted. I think if Kendall gets top game, he can probably work pretty good effectively. Not too much on Almeida. I don't think Almeida's going to be able to get Grove down very easily, though. So I just think Kendall will be able to outwork him on the feet and survive on the ground. I think Kendall Grove will win this by decision. Next up, the long-awaited debut of UFC winner Amir Sadallah, or Ultimate Fighter winner Amir Sadallah against Johnny Hendricks. Amir Sadallah has been scheduled to fight numerous times, but he keeps getting hurt in training, unfortunately. This fight's at welterweight. He had previously fought in middleweight on the show. Both guys are undefeated. I think the UFC in making this fight is assuming Sadallah can submit Hendricks, same way he did CB Dollaway. Unfortunately, we've seen CB Dollaway doesn't have the best submission defense based on his last fight. And Hendricks, I believe, trained with Mark Lehman, who is a very good jiu-jitsu trainer. So I think Hendricks should be able to stay out of submissions. And I think just all that time off for Sadallah just is not going to work to his advantage. He's been out of the ring for a long time. I think Hendricks should be able to use his strong wrestling pedigree, which he has, and control Sadallah on the ground and win a decision here. Probably not going to be the most exciting fight, but I'm going to go with Hendricks by decision. Okay, on to the big fight. The first big fight. Anderson Silva moving back up to lightweight to face Forrest Griffin. Forrest hasn't fought since the loss to Rashad. He got hurt after that fight, I believe, so he's been out for a while. Anderson, he's coming off the wins over Latis and Cote back-to-back. Performances where he didn't look as devastating as he has in the past. Kind of lackluster performances. However, he was winning those fights pretty definitively, if not, spectacularly. He also has the win of James Irvin, where he did fight at light heavyweight, absolutely destroyed James Irvin with pretty much one punch. Forrest, although he lost to Rashad in his last fight, he had the wins over Rampage and Shogun prior to that. If you look at Forrest Griffin's last 4 fights, Shogun, Rampage, Rashad, and Anderson Silva, you got to give the guy credit for taking on a very stacked elite level of opposition. Regardless of what else you think of Forrest Griffin, the guy is definitely willing to fight anybody that's put in front of him. So I'll give him credit for that, no doubt. As for the fight itself, Forrest is going to have the size and strength advantage. Anderson Silva is going to have the advantage in pretty much every other realm except for wrestling. I think Forrest has got the better wrestling. Although he's not a great wrestler, but I think just being his size and strength and training with Randy Couture these last few years is going to give him that advantage there. So I think it'd be smart for him to try to get Anderson down and work him from the top, much like Dan Henderson did in the first round of his fight against Anderson Silva. But I don't know if he'll be able to do that for the full fight. Standing on the feet, Anderson's got a huge advantage. He's just much better standing. He's a much better technical fighter there with his Muay Thai. Forrest, I think it's going to be better than Anderson Silva's last couple fights because Forrest is much more aggressive than Anderson's opponents were there. I think Forrest is going to look to push the pace, probably try to get Anderson against the cage and then get him to the ground and work him from the top position. But Anderson's not the easiest to get down, even though he doesn't have the best wrestling. I think he'll be able to tie Forrest up possibly in the clinch if Forrest works him against the cage and work his knees there. Forrest doesn't want to get caught in clinch. We saw how that worked for Rich Franklin, or how it didn't work, I should say. I just think, Forrest, he's been working leg kicks a lot lately effectively. Might try to mix some of those in, but I just think Anderson Silva is just, the better, more well-rounded fighter and much superior on the feet. On the ground, Silva's better, got the better jiu-jitsu. I don't see him submitting Forrest, though. I just think this fight's going to be primarily on the feet, and I think eventually Anderson's going to break Forrest down and wear him out or catch him with something. And I'm going to go with Anderson Silva by TKO in the 3rd round in what should be a really exciting fight while it lasts. Main event, BJ Penn defending his lightweight title against Kenny Florian. Really looking forward to this fight, Florian's coming off the back-to-back wins, impressive victories over Joe Stevenson and Roger Huerta. BJ Penn's coming off the loss to GSP, although that was at welterweight. Before that, he had a dominant victory defending his title against Sean Shirk, a fighter that Kenny Florian previously had lost to. Florian's looked really good lately. He's really improved in his stand-up game. Always had the good jiu-jitsu. His wrestling's improved as well. BJ Penn, although he didn't look good in the GSP win, he did look great against Sean Shirk and Joe Stevenson before that. I've seen quite a few videos of BJ Penn training for this on YouTube. He looks to be in great shape, looks to be really focused, really wants this victory. What it comes down to, in my opinion, is both are good on the ground. I think Kenny Florian's got the better Muay Thai, but I think BJ Penn's boxing is better. So I think, that's pretty much going to be evened out. What it comes down to for me is Kenny Florian is a really good fighter. He's worked really hard to improve and get to this point. BJ Penn's a great fighter. He's naturally talented, naturally gifted athletically, and when he's focused, he's nearly unstoppable, except for against GSP, I suppose. I just think BJ Penn's the better fighter, bottom line. I think BJ Penn's going to win this fight. He's got to watch out for the elbows. Kenny's got the good elbows, can cut you up. Although BJ Penn can work the elbows as well. Look what he did to Joe Stevenson in that fight. I think it should be a good competitive fight throughout. Probably go the distance. Could be a close fight, 3 rounds to 2, but I see BJ Penn pulling out the victory here. Sunday night, WEC 42, Miguel Torres defending his Bantamweight title against Brian Bowles. Looking forward to this event. Always look forward to watching WECs on the Versus Network. Miguel Torres, 37-1, is coming off the win over Mizugaki. Great fight. Brian Bowles, 7-0, coming off the dominant victory over Will Ricardo. Bowles is undefeated and has looked really impressive in his WEC run. However, I just think experience and level of opposition is going to work for Miguel Torres' advantage. Plus, I think Miguel's just a more well-rounded fighter at this point. He's got great jiu-jitsu. He's very pretty good on the feet, as both fighters are. Bowles may have a wrestling advantage, but I don't think it's going to be big enough to, get him any victory here. I just think Miguel Torres is a more well-rounded fighter, the better fighter, more experienced, fought much better level of opposition, or he has a better resume than Brian Bowles at this opinion. I'm not saying any of the opponents he's beaten are better than Brian Bowles necessarily. So I think Miguel Torres will win this fight. I'm going to go by either submission or TKO late, probably 4th round. But make sure you catch that WC on Sunday. It should be a really good event. Probably be back on Sunday to give my afterthoughts on the fights, but until then, guys, I'm out of here. Bye.